Hey guys, it's Tom from Clean Pro Supply. We're back for the third video in our series meant to serve as sort of an introduction to the restoration industry. Now, today's video is going to focus on a really important topic if you're looking to start a restoration company, or maybe if your restoration company is struggling as an independent. Today we're going to be talking about independent restoration companies versus franchise restoration companies. What are the benefits of a franchise? What are the drawbacks of a franchise? So we're going to start off, what exactly is like a franchise restoration company? Those are the companies like ServPro, ServiceMaster, Restoration 911, Rainbow Restoration, 1-800 Water Damage, and many others. Some of those names are probably familiar because they've been around for a while. They have a lot of locations nationally, and they spend a lot of money on marketing so that you will know their name. And that's one of the big benefits of a franchise. So if you're just starting off in the restoration industry and it's time to open your own company, and maybe you don't know what to do, you don't know how to get started, you don't know how the industry works, you don't know how to find jobs, you don't know the actual process to do the jobs, you don't know what equipment is needed. This is one of the big benefits of a franchise. A franchise will tell you all that stuff. They've got a big network available of other companies, within that sort of franchise network, and they can help to answer your questions. They can get you started. They can provide you training, and it really is like a built-in network of people to help you to learn how to do restoration and to learn how to be successful. And that's one of the big benefits of a franchise. You know, if you're new and you don't have any industry experience and you want to get started and you want to start making money sooner rather than later, a franchise can be really helpful for that. The other big benefits of a franchise are name recognition. So, a name like ServPro, ServiceMaster, Paul Davis Restoration, these are national companies that spend a lot of money on marketing. They have ads during the Super Bowl. So these are companies that people know about. They've heard the name of these companies before, and when they're having an emergency like a flooded basement or something like that, and they need help, a lot of times the first company that pops into their mind are these big franchises. So it makes it a lot easier to get business. Sometimes in restoration, the hardest part is just making the phone ring. And this is sort of, it's not going to be perfect. It's not a guarantee of great success, but it is definitely going to help you to find business in most cases, if it's a, franchise name that people know. So that's a big bonus. The other big benefits to franchises, a lot of them have these big, they'll have like national accounts, essentially. For instance, if you think of a big national chain like Walmart or Target or Home Depot, Dollar General, these are stores that are all across the country, right? Now, each location, they don't want to have to leave each location to their own devices when it comes to trying to find a company when they have a problem, when they have some kind of a flood or the roof gets blown off in a storm or something, So most of these big companies will have a national contract with a restoration franchise that is nationwide. And that means that if, you belong to a company that has, or if you're, part of a franchise and one of these companies that they have a national contract with has some kind of a loss, they call that company right away. So as you can imagine, companies like, Walmart and stuff like that, they're massive buildings. They're all over the country. They get constant traffic. So there's a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong there as far as damage to the property. So, buildings like this, or companies like that, they get a lot of calls. They have a lot of losses. And so, it is good to have that steady built-in customer base. In most cases, the way that often works is the franchise that they have the contract with will get the first call. So it doesn't mean they, necessarily, like if, say, for instance, you had a franchise and some national chain store that has a contract with your franchise had a flood. They would call your franchise first. And typically you'll have about 30 minutes to respond, either yay or nay, either you're going to take the job or you're not. But you sort of have the first right of refusal. You have the first opportunity to get that job. If you can't handle it because the job's too big and you're a small company, or you're already booked on too many other jobs, or you're just not interested in it, That's fair. You don't have to necessarily take it, but you're going to be offered the job first. So that's a huge, huge, huge benefit. Additionally, a lot of times when it comes to the national franchises, they also tend to be involved in a lot of what we call like TPA work, third-party administrator sort of programs. These are just programs where work gets assigned directly from the insurance company to a contractor, to a vendor. Like, for instance, if someone from a major insurance company, you have someone who is insured, they have a big claim, they call their insurance company, and many times in restoration, the first call the homeowner makes is to their insurance company. So the insurance company gets the job or gets the claim, and then they farm that job out right away to one of their like program vendors. And typically it's going to be one of the franchises. The franchises, they're so big and they work at kind of a different scale. They almost work more on volume than on like one big job. They tend to do like a lot of smaller jobs because they're just going to get more work. And a lot of times the franchises will have streamlined systems built in place that will allow them to get work directly from the insurance companies or the third-party vendors that the insurance companies work with to get those jobs. They'll get the jobs right away. They'll have systems in place to communicate efficiently with the insurance company, and oftentimes they'll have like billing agreements in place. There are certain things they will bill for, there are certain things they agree not to charge for, and they'll often agree to use set estimating software and stuff that kind of gives you like a pre-agreed upon rate, so much per day per dehumidifier and, so much per square foot to extract water and stuff. So there are a lot of pros to a franchise, and the number of franchises, restoration franchises around the country shows that you can make big money as part of a restoration franchise. But there are some drawbacks. So the big drawbacks are, if you want to be in a franchise or you want to own a franchise, you have to pay. It's not free. So if you wanted to open up one of these restoration franchises, you would have to pay. In most cases, and everyone's a little bit different, right? Some of them will have different requirements. ServPro's requirements are going to be different from Paul Davis's requirements, different from ServiceMaster, et cetera. But for the most part, you're buying territory. So you pay a set fee for most of these companies at the beginning, and you purchase territory. And what that means is that anytime a call goes into like the national number for that particular company or that franchise in the territory you own, if a call comes from there, they assign it to you and not to a different ServPro, ServiceMaster, et cetera. Because what you don't want is you don't want to have 10, for instance, ServiceMasters in a small city, and they're like fighting for the work. No, they each have their own territory. So any call that comes in your territory gets assigned to your franchise. But you got to pay for that. So you pay up front, and the amount varies from company to company. But you're looking typically at tens of thousands of dollars. Some it might be $30,000 to $35,000 for some companies. For others, it might be $65,000. And I can't give you really specific numbers, even though I've seen some of the different stuff before from the franchises. Because typically, when you start to get into it, they're usually going to make you sign an NDA where you're not going to reveal too much detailed, private information. And I've signed a couple of those. So I can't talk about some of it in detail, but in general, you're going to pay probably, we'll say, between $25,000 and $65,000 for the territory. Now, for some companies, the territory is just based on the size of the territory. For other companies, your territory is going to be based on the population of the territory, where you're paying you'll buy a chunk of territory that has like a set number of people, maybe 30,000 people in your territory. 30,000 people equals one territory. So no matter how it's broken up, because every company is going to be a little bit different with it, you're going to be paying a set amount of money to buy a chunk of territory. And typically territories that have more people or are larger are going to cost you more money. But Either way, you're paying that set fee at the beginning. So there's the entry fee just to get in. Now, most of these franchises are also going to have certain requirements as far as like equipment when you're first starting out. They're going to say you have to buy X number of dehumidifiers and X number of air movers, and they want to make sure you have certain equipment so that you are capable to do the jobs that the franchise is going to send to you. Because if they, are getting work directly from an insurance company and, they're agreeing to do the work from like a national contract, and the guy in that territory, you can't do the work, well, then it's going to make them look pretty bad. So they're going to have some specific requirements as far as what they want you to purchase for equipment. And that can also raise your startup costs a little bit, if they're telling you to buy specific equipment that maybe you otherwise would not have bought starting out. So there's a bigger initial investment, but you do get something back for it. You get the training, you get, kind of like the built-in marketing. They've got a lot of like marketing materials made for you, pamphlets and stuff like that, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel and go hire some graphic designer to make up a new logo for you and put together your website and all this. They're going to handle a lot of that for you. Most of them, however, are still going to make you pay for additional marketing within your territory. Now, they're going to have national marketing programs, that's the ads on the Super Bowl and stuff like that. That's the national marketing. But when it comes to like specific, for instance, like additional advertising on Facebook in your area and stuff like that, that is stuff that you're typically going to have to pay for yourself as well. So, you get some stuff out of it, but there is a fee. Now, in addition to that, and this is where a lot of people get a little grouchy about it, you also have to pay a percentage of your sales back to the franchise. So, and the amount that you have to pay back varies from company to company. Could be as low as 3%, could be as high as 15%. On average, you're typically going to be paying about 10% of all of the sales. So every job you do, you got to think just right off the top of your head, 10% of that, you have to pay it to the franchise. And a lot of people are really not happy about that, because once you've been in business for a while and you're established in your area and you're paying for marketing and you're the one who's buying the equipment and buying the vans and all the stuff, and you're doing the sales, and you're getting the good Google reviews that are bringing people back, you're still, no matter what, going to be paying a percentage back to the franchise, usually 10%. So for some people, that's a little high to pay 10%, plus they're paying additional fees for stuff on top of it. So it can be expensive. The other downside to a franchise is that you kind of have to do it the franchise's way. For instance, when it comes to how you write your invoices, how you do your billing, how you do your job site documentation, the software you use, sometimes how you sell jobs, how you market. They also might have a say in that. And you might disagree with it, but what are you going to do? It's like, for instance, if you bought a McDonald's, you can't just start selling spaghetti at the McDonald's. You have to do it the McDonald's way. You have to sell their food. You got to make it the way they want you to make it. You got to use the advertising. You can't just like slap a new logo and decide you want the M, written differently or something. So it's the same thing with a restoration franchise. So there are a lot of pros. Like I said, you get a lot of guidance from the franchise, which for new people can be especially helpful. And there are things like national accounts they'll set you up with, and that's good to have. But you're paying a lot more money up front, and you are going to be paying a percentage back forever. Now, I've talked to a lot of different business owners over the years. Some people start off in a franchise and then they decide, you know what, this isn't for me. I know how to do restoration now. I'm established. I have relationships with insurance adjusters and plumbers and all these people who are calling me directly for jobs. So I'm not really getting enough out of the franchise anymore to justify it. And they decide they want to leave the franchise. Unfortunately, it's not usually that easy. When it comes to leaving a franchise, most of the time you're signing some kind of non-compete that's usually going to specify that once you leave the franchise, you can't compete with that franchise for a set amount of time. Usually it's around 2 years. These are really hard to enforce, so a lot of people just say, screw you, franchise, I'm doing my own thing now. And, for a lot of the smaller franchises and stuff, we'll kind of let it go. But it's a risk. You don't want somebody coming after you and suing you because you decided you didn't want their name on your trucks anymore. So that's how that goes. The independent guys, though, they have the benefit is an independent company that you can kind of do things however you want. No one's going to tell you what logo to use, how to make your marketing materials. They're not going to tell you specifically how to do jobs, how to interact with customers. There's a lot more freedom. You basically run the company however you want to, and it's your company. It's your name on the door. So it's going to be what you want it to be. And you get to keep all the profits. So that's also another huge bonus. I think franchises, a lot of times in my experience, tend to really attract people who have a little bit more money to invest because higher startup costs, and people who don't necessarily have as much industry experience. And so that guidance that the franchise provides to them is really invaluable. And you can be very successful long-term in a franchise. You can open multiple locations. You could have, 10 ServPros or 10 Paul Davises or whatever, in different areas. You can buy more territory. There are a lot of options there to make more money. It's not all bad. If you go on Facebook or social media and you talk in most restoration groups, everybody's going to kind of poo-poo the franchises. Here's the part of the reason for that is that you'll find when you go into these different online groups where people are talking and networking about restoration, most of the people in those groups are the independent people because they need a source where they can talk to other people, meet with other restoration people, share information and ideas, and how do I do this, and this is how I do things, and this is where you can buy this equipment cheaper, etc. So, they kind of need that networking and that place to share information and ideas, where the franchise guys, they've got that built in. It's part of the franchise. It's like one of the benefits of the franchise is you already have a network of people that you can reach out to with your questions. You know who to talk to about processes and how to do jobs. If you have, a job about question about a particularly complicated job, you've got people you can call. So that's one of the big benefits. So, there are pros to it. There are cons. The real pros, in summary, we'll make it really simple. Starting a franchise, it's more expensive. You're paying a percentage of your profits to them forever, and you have to kind of do it their way. And at the end of the day, it's their logo on the vans, not your particular logo. It's not your name. It's not, John Smith Restoration or whatever. It's Paul Davis Restoration or, Service Master, ServPro, whatever. So those are, the big drawbacks, but the big benefits to a franchise are you get a built-in network, you get built-in training, you get marketing materials, you get typically national marketing, and you get typically national contracts and built-in relationships with insurance companies, and just really name recognition, So there are pros to it, there are cons to it. I think, in my personal opinion, if you've been in the industry for a long time and you already know how it all works for the most part, you can do jobs, you can interface with insurance companies, you know how to find work and market and stuff. If you already know how to do that, the value of a franchise kind of goes down a little bit. But there is definitely, even if you are experienced in the industry, there is something to be said for that name recognition, that like as soon as somebody has a flood, they think of this company's name immediately. They don't have to go to Google and look around. They're just going to Google to find your company by name. A lot of it's funny, when I would work in restoration, I would tell people what I did for a living. The first thing that everyone would say is, "Oh, you mean like ServPro?" That was the first thing. Almost everybody would say that because it is such a well-known company, and so there's definitely value to that. I would say, if you're going to buy into a franchise, buying into one that people know immediately, that they know the name of, definitely is a big benefit. It can be sort of a double-edged sword, though, because if, for instance, they're all franchises, they're all separately owned, but part of the same company. So if, say, you are with 1-800-WATER damage and there's a 1-800-WATER damage, 300 miles away, and that particular company, someone had a bad experience with that particular location, they're going to associate you with that bad experience too if you're part of that same franchise. So that can sometimes backfire. On the other hand, if they had a great experience with that other location 300 miles away, and now they need you in their wherever they live now, they're going to call you and they're going to be like, "Oh, I had such a great experience last time. Does Tim still work there? It's 300 miles away. It's a whole nother owner. Like, it's a different what." People don't understand how franchises work, but there are a lot of pros to it. There are a lot of cons to it. Again, for the most part, if you have a little bit more money to invest, you want the name recognition, you want the built-in kind of like push at the beginning to get you started, kind of get you a little momentum going. And especially if you need that initial training, a franchise does have its benefits. On the other hand, if you're already familiar with the industry, you know how to do the work, you maybe have some contacts, you know how to market yourself, or you're just like super, I'm independent and I'm going to do it my own way no matter what. It's also good too that, you're probably a good candidate to do an independent company. It costs less starting out and you get to keep all the money. So yeah, pros and cons to it. All right, guys, that's it for me. I hope everybody out there is staying safe and warm. I hope that if you are working in the restoration industry that your business is going well. I also hope that you will check out our website, www.cleanprosupply.com. Check it out. We've got all sorts of restoration equipment, chemicals, consumables. We've got parts for your equipment. We do repairs at any of our 4 locations. So check out our website. We've got really competitive prices, and we are really dedicated to helping your company to succeed. Like the sign says, your success is our success. We really want you to be successful and to make a lot of money so that you can be our customer for many, many years into the future. So that's it for me today, guys. Tune in next time where we are going to talk about some more stuff at the beginning of a restoration company. We're going to talk about writing a business plan for a restoration company. If you're just starting off, you got to have a good plan. So tune in for that next video, and thanks for stopping by. See you.